everybody, welcome to another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Death Battletome Flesh Eater Courts. This is the, I guess, second editioning of the Flesh Eater Courts Battletome that was around from first edition. That does quite a bit with not so much. There's two kits added to the book. You have a Archregent, who's a big sort of like ghouly character that doesn't come on the back of a zombie dragon, so he's a bit easier to buy. And then you're also going to have some endless spells. So this is kind of in the new format of not adding too many kits to a book when it gets brought up to second edition from first edition, and just sort of like giving you all of the expanded stuff that you would have in a second edition book, like new traits, spells, all the sort of neat stuff. It does actually pop out a few models from existing kits and give them new war scrolls, which we'll go through when we go through that. You have a hero level of the sort of biggie ghouls, the wingy ones, the crypt horrors, and the whichever the flying ones are. The not crypt horrors. That big kit, there's character models you can now build out of it to have some sort of like, I think they're called courtiers or knights. Might be courtiers. They're basically the minor heroes in the list. Are now built out of the main kits from the Flesh Eater Courts sort of like model range. So we're gonna flip through, we're gonna pop the camera down so you guys can flip through with me. I have read through this and given it sort of like my once over. So I'm gonna give you we're gonna look at the art, but I'm gonna give you the too long didn't read version of this story, sort of like where the Flesh Eater Courts come to. It hasn't changed much from where it's currently at, just sort of updated to include Soul Wars and how excited the Flesh Eater Courts are about the Soul Wars, because it just means more food for their bountiful tables. Yeah, let's pop the camera down and take a look right now. So here it is, Death Battletome Flesh Eater Courts. Coming in at a trim 88 pages. This outlines all of the great things that you love about ghouls. So yeah, your art's been updated a little bit. You got some Deepkin in here now. You can see some sort of like modern second edition or just further along first edition aspects in the artwork and stuff too. It's been updated. All of your lovely, I don't know if this is Blanche, but it's definitely in the style of Blanche. Side illustrations and stuff as well. And of course you got your basic background stuff. Carrion King, talking about the first of Nagash's sort of like noble kings that in the original sort of like first age of Age of Sigmar, follow him around and, you know, help build his empire and stuff, and then eventually betray him, and he locks him away in a soul cage. And when Sigmar basically gets betrayed by Nagash, he breaks loose and runs amok and becomes the first of the Carrion Kings. His name's like Volnush or something like that. And then of course your different sort of like bits and bobs about the place they come from, how the ghouls get formed, and some timeline stuff like the Tales of Madness and stuff here. And then you get your Grisly Pageantry, some painting stuff, Ravenous Hordes, so your Legion's abilities, Path to Glory rules, War Scrolls, and then your pitch battle profiles. Again, actually here's a full color version of that stuff that was in the slipcase. You can see the Idneth and lots of cannibalism happening. If you're not familiar with the Flesh Eater Courts and the ghouls, their basic jam is they think that they're still noble knights and heroes, and they're all sharing the grand delusion of their king. So no matter who the Carrion King, well, the Carrion King is the original, like the OG king of the ghouls, but there's various, you know, ghoul kings now who are all cursed with vampirism, and their courtiers, who are all the ghouls, basically all believe his madness, his delusion, and think that they're protecting their realms. So think of them a bit like the Knights of Musiel in old Warhammer, where they descend kind of into madness, but they still believe they're knights. And actually in the color section, there's some cool stuff there, talking about how their skin will even change color based upon what they believe their heraldry and stuff to be when they're having their grand delusion. Like weird stuff just sort of like takes place. Some classic art. I think this might have actually been, that might be an Alex Boyd piece. I think that actually might be from the old Vampire Counts book when they redid the ghouls. And of course, some more new art to reflect the new, it's not Endless Spell, it's their terrain piece. Oh, you know, I didn't mention that. There is a third kit that's coming out with this, which is their terrain piece, their big throne. Their big throne of bones that you get to sit on when you're the king of the ghouls. Yeah, again, just more new artwork and sidebar stuff. Some fighting Nagash, because they don't get along with Nagash too well against the War Against Chaos, but then some of them do, because they're crazy, and their madness either means that they think Nagash is enslaving them, or Nagash is you know, they're Supreme Lord of the Undead and stuff still, and that kind of like, I guess that exemplifies the mercurial nature of the ghouls, and the fact that they don't really, sometimes they just do what you feel day all the time. They're the chaotic neutral death element where they're so crazy that they side with both teams sometimes. More stuff. I think this is actually an older piece. Tales of Madness. So everything from the Age of Myth. This outlines, what's his name? Usharan basically is the Carrion King, the first of the original nobles, basically, that create the realm of death in the Age of Myth. And then some examples of a court, so an Abort Ghoul King, which is the new plastic kit, his royal family. And it does introduce a bunch of new keywords. So for instance, serfs, courtiers, and knights are all keywords in this list, which I find really interesting because it means you couldn't reuse those keywords later without having like some weird interactions. But they refer to like ghouls. They refer to different kinds of ghouls because it's what they believe. It's what the Ghoul King believes they are and what they believe they are in his delusion. And it affects certain rules in the game. The Carrion King, all the different friends of the royal family, the Sycophants, Lord Marrowbroth, and these all actually are reflected in different rules that you can have later on. And there's also the Royal Menagerie, which is where your Zombie Dragon and your what's it, Terrorgeist come in. These are really neat. I really like this one actually, the two-faced one, all the like the heraldic stuff. So you're basically taking cannibalism and making knightly crests out of it. You know, as the ghouls do, which I think is kind of cool. It's a really slick piece of art, but it's all coats of arms that they've just like flayed together out of stuff. I can imagine they have to build it quite often though, because it like falls apart and rots. But I like the different ones. And all of these Grand Courts are reflected by rules later on. You can pick one of these 4. So Morgaunt, Mourn, Blister Skin, and Gristlegore, they're all actually given rules later on when you get to the army part. So you get your abhorrents. These are the arch-regents, the ghoul kings. They're the big bads, basically the army. You get your Charnel Thrones, which is the new train piece. Courtiers. So Vargulf is considered to be a courtier. He's the big sort of, I think he's still in Finecast actually. He was one of the last era big monstery things that the Vampire Counts got in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. But these are the new ones. So you've got your Crypt Haunter Courtier. So Crypt Haunter is like a not Crypt Ghoul, the Crypt Horrors. He's your character level one, so it's a hero type that you can make out of that box. And then the Crypt Ghast Courtier is the one that you can make out of the Flayers, I think it is. Yeah, it's Horrors and Flayers, I'm pretty sure. And then your Crypt Infernals, which is a hero level ghoul, just like regular ghouly ghoul. And then all your Mordants, so Crypt Horrors, Crypt Flayers, Crypt Ghouls, which are your battle line basically, and are considered serfs. And then your Menagerie, which is things like the Royal Zombie Dragon, the Royal Terrorgeists. And then the insane manifestations, the things that they just dream into being, which are your endless spells, are the Corpsemare Stampede, the Chalice of Usharan, which makes sense now that name is that, and the Cadaverous Barricade, which actually I think is my favorite train piece, because it's literally a wall made of like just corpses. Piles of bodies. So nice color section, includes the new models. So there's your, was it Carrion Throne, all the spells, the Chalice of Usharan, the Corpsemare Stampede, and there's the wall right there. And they're fighting some greeny meanies, as you do with the murder cabbage, the mob beast or whatever it's called. And I can't really spot anything else new in there. I mean, they're not using new models for the courtiers. They're just whatever the sort of like sergeant model is for the unit becomes the hero model in the new rules. All the great color sections, the pageantry, the grisly pageantry. I do love that they just firmly believe that they're chivalrous knights, that they're like a weird, a weird like Arthur and Knights of the Round Table. There's the new miniature right there. So you can see this is the abhorrent arch-regent. What a tongue twister. And then the abhorrent Ghoul King, which is actually the mount. It comes with the Terrorgeist / Zombie Dragon kits. And what's interesting is they've actually used this rock. You can see here under the paw. So you could leave that off. You were just going to build them without a rider and then stick him on it. And that's how they've managed to base him. Because he's very hard to get to stick to a base because he doesn't have a good contact point. He's got his toe there because he's meant to ride on the back of like this spiky thing. He's just kind of like surfing it. So they've cleverly used this one rock from the basing kit, which I'm pretty sure you can leave off and still have this be stable because there's another one down here too as the base for the Abhorrent Ghoul King. And I wonder if they're going to package it with that round base. They might. It looks like a 40. Yeah, I think it's a 40. That's probably a 40 because that's a 50 Yeah, I think those are 40s, definitely. It's gonna come. It would be cool if they threw a 40 in this kit now, so you can make both if you wanted to. That'd be a slick bit of repackaging if they decide to do it. And there's the Varghulf Courtier, who is he's kind of showing his age now. If you look at just like the sculpting, he's definitely of a different era than these guys. Like just the exaggeration of the features, because I'm pretty sure he's still a hand sculpt. So someone sculpted that out of green stuff, and you can really tell the difference in the fineness of detail now between the older stuff and the newer stuff as sculpted by hand. It's just, I mean, it's just the level that you can get to by hand versus what you can do with a computer, where sizes you have to go blind trying to do it. And there's your Cryptors. Fighting some Stormcast, just more color section stuff. And here, this is it. So Manifest Insanity. So the reason why they're all different colors is this one's like, it's where the place that they're from. So like a Hessian one, an Ulguin one, or a Gyranite one. Sorry, Granite. I don't even know how you do that. That's a puzzler right there. But they believe that they've got these like the different heraldries and stuff, so their skins change color to reflect it, which I like that. I think that's a cool little like just bit of lore, bit of background for them. And the spells, there's your Cadaverous Barricade, the Chalice of Usharan, and the Corpse Mare Stampede. I think the Corpse Mare Stampede is actually my favorite of the three. I mean, there's nothing wrong with these, but just that's a really neat piece. I can see this getting used for Dark AOS, just as like a mount or something to convert out of. It's good conversion fodder from the looks of things. I really like that. And then of course the new Skaven they're pairing off against, as that is the other book that is going on pre-order today. They're doing a back-to-back for that new starter set, which I think is pretty slick. And it's a much meatier codex, because it's doing what the Gloomspite Gits did and just cramming everything together into one book. Deathly Revenants, so just like an example of the army, what the units look like. There's your courtier right there. Do they have any of the heroes peeled off? Yes, so 4. That says Crypt Haunter Courtier. So there it is. It's with some horrors, and that's the character one. They just like used all the command bits from the Crypt player. I don't see that they've done the one for the, or for the Crypt Horrors. I don't think they've done the Flare one. And there's the new Abort Ghoul King. Paint your flesh eaters. Now this actually jumped out at me. The call out to Warhammer TV. I'm sure I've probably seen it before. They've probably done other books, but this is the first time I really noticed it. That's a really slick bit of advertising right there. That's putting this in the books is the kind of thing that's really gonna. I mean, Warhammer TV's grown like insanely fast in the last few years. They went from, I think, in 2014 when I first kind of like noticed them when they first like the Duncan painting stuff. They were probably at like 25 or 30,000, and they're closing at like 300,000 subscribers now. So it's like over 5 years they've gotten like 250,000 subscribers, which is pretty great for a channel that basically just does painting. Yeah, pretty awesome. But if that starts being in the books all the time, that's definitely a thing that's going to help grow them even more, because they're going to become more mainstreamed. Here's some cool painting tips. But it's still kind of 1, 2, 3 heavy metal, right? Like in between here and here, I feel like there's some steps. Here's how you do the skin, and then there's all this stuff. Here's how you do the wings. I do like that it's broken into parts now. It's not like primed to like finish heavy metal miniature. There's a bit of like just like these are the different details and how you would look at doing them, and all the steps and stuff. But you'll definitely get more watching the videos on Warhammer TV on how to do all these exact things. Still, I mean, 4 pages of painting, not bad. And we're into the army. There we go. Everything you guys, you've borne with me looking at pretty pictures long enough, and we can talk about allegiance abilities. So I've probably played 3 games against the old Flesh Eater Courts. I played Jared's. I played Dan from Max Aggressions. I think somebody else brought them in, or I might have just played one of those armies twice. I've played probably 3 games, so I don't remember a huge amount about the original Flesh Eater Court rules. But there's definitely some new stuff here. Like Deathless Courtiers, you get a 6+ shrug now within 12 inches of a Flesh Eater Court hero. So you get basically your death shrug that almost every death army gets. And then you get your 4 Grand Courts. So if you're doing a Flesh Eater Court army, then you can pick Morgaunt, Blister Skin, Hollow Mourn, or Gristlegore as one of your courts. Then there's your Courts of Delusion. Before you select your General's command trait, pick one of the delusions on the right for your army to have. So one of these, basically, what kind of insane thing has the king convinced everybody is going on? and that'll affect your army. So it's almost like a pick your own traits, and there are things that let you pick a new one over the course of the game from the command traits and stuff too. And yeah, we'll go through those right now. So there's Crusading Army, number 1, add 1 to run and charge rules for friendly Flesh Eater Court units, just base. Number 2 is Royal Hunt. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1 for friendly Flesh Eater Courts units that target a monster. Feast Day, once per turn, you can use the Feeding Frenzy command ability that's spending command point. That's what this one right here. It's amazing. We'll talk about it in a second. But being able to do it for free once per turn is a bit insane. Matter of Honor, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Flesh Eater Courts units that target a hero. If the target's a general, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 as well. That's pretty cool. The Grand Tournament, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Flesh Eater Courts heroes other than your general, because they're all competing basically to like show off in front of him. And then Defenders of the Realm. I love how like noble the names of all of these are. You can reroll save rolls of 1 for Flesh Eater Courts units that have at least half their models wholly within their own territory. So if you're in your own territory, if you're defending, you can reroll rolls of 1. I don't know which one wins here. I think the Feast Day is going to be the most popular one because it's a free command ability each turn, and I'll tell you what that does right now. You can use this command ability after a friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit has fought in the combat phase for the first time and is wholly within 12 of a Flesh Eater Courts hero or within 18 of a Flesh Eater Courts general. If you do so, that unit can immediately make a pile-in move and then attack with all their melee weapons it's armed with for a second time. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this more than once per phase. But that means that if you've got the command point, so if you could do it for free once per round. So like, just your Terror guys could fight twice, you know, or your Horrors, or your General, like, whatever your best fighting unit is, it just, for free, it can fight twice per round. And if your General's riding a big monster, it means he fights twice per round immediately. That's bananas. Plus whatever you get from CPs in this army. And yeah, and you can only pick each ability to do it once per phase, but you can pick as many units as you want that you have CPs, like until you run out of CPs, plus a free one if you want to. And then you have muster abilities. These are any healing that you have in the army. It's just talking about placement, how you place them within one ship model. You can only place them within 3 of the enemy if the unit that's being replaced is already within 3. The standard replacing models in the unit rules. All right, command traits. So basically based on keywords. So your abhorrents get different ones from your courtiers. So like your baby heroes and your big heroes get 2 different sets. Now they do share a bunch of them. So Bringer of Death, Frenzied Flesh, Savage Beyond Reason are all the same in both. And they are reroll wound rolls for attacks made by the general. You can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made by the general. If there's any enemy models that have suffered any wounds within 3 inches, so like that one's awesome. You just stop fighting the unit that's like slightly wounded and almost dead. And then Savage Beyond Reason, if an unmodified hit roll for this attack made by the melee weapon of the general is a 6, it does 2 hits instead of 1, make a wound and save roll for each one. So those 3 are the same no matter if you're an abhorrent or a courtier. And then the Abort Heroes, and this will be your Abhorrent Ghoul King on foot, and I think there's a big one on a mount as well. Majestic Horror, if this general is chosen as the model that uses a command ability that summons Flesh Eater Courts models to battlefield, they can use a command point, without a command point being spent. So your regenerate abilities don't cost you a command point. So you get 2 free command points per turn if you take the army traits of Feast Day, and you take this one too. So you can heal for free and fight twice per round for free with that one. And then Dark Wizardry, add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for the wizard, or for the general. And then Completely Delusional. This one's cool. Once per battle, if this general has not been slain, you can pick a new delusion in your hero phase and replace the original delusion you chose from your army. So that one's pretty cool. Like, for instance, if like you take Feast Day, and you know you have no heroes left and your general's about to die, you can do Completely Delusional to switch it to something better before he bites it. If you know he's like down to his last wound, he's probably gonna die in the next fight phase, you can switch to somebody that affects everybody that you don't have to have a hero nearby to do. And the courtier ones, Hulking Brute, add 1 to your wounds. That's pretty cool. They're actually all pretty low wound, so that's actually pretty useful. Cruel Taskmaster, if this general uses a muster ability, you can reroll the dice to determine if slain models return to the unit. You must reroll all of the dice. So you're basically rolling to see who comes back. Dark Acolyte, this general gains the wizard keyword and can cast unbind spells in the same manner as an Abhorrent Ghoul King from the Abhorrent Ghoul King roll scroll. So you're going to get the same spell and be the same level of wizard basically if you take Dark Acolyte. It's pretty neat. Then you got your Royal Treasury, so these are your artifacts for the Abhorrents and the Courtiers. They are all completely different, I'm pretty sure. Sigma the First Court, if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by a bearer with a melee weapon is a 6, add 1 to the damage. Splinter Vein Brooch, subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards if they're within 18 inches of the bearer. Blood River Chalice, once per battle at the start of your hero phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, heal d6 wounds allocated to them. That one's really great, actually. Because you've got a lot of model return, but not a lot of healing. Especially if you've got a guy on a dragon. The Grim Garland, subtract 2 from the Bravery characteristic of enemy units if they're within 6 of the bearer. The Dermal Robe, add 1 to casting and dispelling and unbinding rolls for the bearer. Which means, the Dermal Robe means a skin suit, if you haven't caught what dermal means. So like, it's just he's making a skin suit. He's pulling a Buffalo Bill. And then Heart of the Gargant, once per battle at the end of your combat phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, you can reroll failed wound rolls for the bearer and their mount in this phase. Cool if you're riding a big monster. Noble Heroes, Keening Bone. This is your courtiers. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, increase the range characteristic of this weapon to 3 inches. That's pretty cool. Actually, I have a 3-inch melee threat. Metal of Madness, once per battle round, the bearer can use a command ability on their war scroll without a command point being spent, and they're treated as if they were a general when they do so. So now you could get an extra feast day out of Metal of Madness. So now you can have 2 free paladin fights, plus if you were to grab Majestic Horror, was that the one? Yeah, plus a heal for no CPs. Like, just don't die, and you get it for no CPs. That one's well worth taking too. Like, regardless of like what any of these other ones do, I think that one probably wins. The Flayed Penance. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly Flesh Eater Courts units wholly within 12 inches of the bearer. Carrying Wand, in your hero phase, the bearer can attempt to cast Arcane Bolts if they're a wizard. If the bearer is a wizard, add 1 to the casting value. The Flesh Form Raiment, subtract 1 from the Bravery characteristic if you're within 3. And the Bilious Decanter, once per battle at the start of the combat phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, add 2 to the attack characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons in that phase. So, I mean, it's only once per game, but another free pound and fight could be amazing. And they cast me in the general too, so the range is extended. So spells, so again, all of your big ghouls are going to get to cast spells, but you saw there's a way to make your little ghouls wizards as well. Lord of Madness, Bowen Storm. It was the name of a video game in a really early Simpsons episode. It's like from the good Simpsons years, the Conan O'Brien Simpsons years, and Bowen Storm, it's the one where all Milhouse does is put in his name, and it's Thrill Ho. I just want to say Bowen Storm. So Bowen Storm has a casting value of 5. If successfully cast, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster on a 2+ to take a mortal wound. So it's only 1 little mortal wound, but it's still pretty good on 2. Spectral Host has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly unit wholly within 12 inches of the caster that's visible to them. The unit can fly into your next hero phase. If the unit already has fly, it can run and still charge in the same turn. That's pretty cool for your big dragons. If the casting roll was 10 or more, you can pick up to 3 friendly units affected instead of 1. So remember, you can cast on yourself if you're an Abhorrent Ghoul King and you're riding a dragon or a big Terrorgeist. Monstrous Vigor, casting value of 5. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Flesh Eater Courts monster within 24 inches of the caster that's visible to them until your next hero phase. When you look up a value of that monster, it's treated as if it has 0 wounds. So no matter how wounded it fights at top bracket. That one's pretty awesome. So you can basically, it's almost like the old or the current what's it called, Imperial Knight stratagem that lets you come back online. Miasma Shroud, casting value of 5. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to them and roll 3 dice. For each 5+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, if you rolled a triple, subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. If you rolled a double, subtract 1 from hit and rolls for rolls only for that unit until your next hero phase. If you roll double, subtract 1. Okay, yeah, sorry, only do those things. Deranged Transformation. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I want to read this again. For each 5+, take a mortal wound. Okay, so 3 dice, 5+, take a mortal wound. In addition, if you roll a triple, subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. If you rolled a double, subtract 1 from hit rolls only. Okay, so it's only hit rolls, not wound rolls. I was trying to figure out the difference. I missed the wound rolls. Deranged Transformation. Deranged Transformation has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly unit with a wound characteristic up to 6. That's wholly within 24 of the caster and visible to them. Add that unit's wound characteristic to its move characteristic until your next hero phase. For example, if you had a wound characteristic of 6, you'd add 6 inches to your move. Crazy. So you grow wings and fly. If you roll 10 or more, you can pick 3 friendly units to do it instead of 1. So you can do that to your Crypt Ghasts or your Crypt... actually, no, your Flayers would be able to do it too, actually. Yeah, all your bigly ghouls could get it. And then Blood Feast, casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster that's visible to them, and a friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit within 6 inches of that enemy unit. The enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the casting roll was 10 or more, enemy suffers D6 mortal wounds instead of D3. Then for each mortal wound that you inflicted, you can heal 1 wound allocated to the friendly unit. If the friendly unit has wounds characteristic of 1, for each mortal wound, you can return a slain model to the friendly unit instead. So this is your Blood Feast gives you some... It's not a mustering rule. It's just a straight up heal. And you get your mount traits for the Terrorgeist, the Deathly Feast. This model can run and still shoot. Sorry, Deathly Fast. Razor Clawed, improve the rank characteristic of this model's melee weapons by 1. Horribly Infested. This model's infested ability inflicts 3 mortal wounds instead of D3. So when you like cut it and rats come out. Horribly Resilient. This model's Royal Blood ability heals up to 3 wounds instead of D3. Gruesome Bites. You can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by this mount's Fanged Maw. And Devastating Scream, add 1 of the Death Shriek values for this model's damage table. And then Zombie Dragon it shares a whole bunch of them. So Deathly Fast is the same, run and still shoot. Razor Claw's the same, improve run by 1. Baleful Breath. You can roll wound rolls for attacks made by this weapon model's Pestilential Breath. Horribly Resilient, again, Royal Blood does 3 instead of D3. Necrotic Fangs, you roll the damage characteristic for this model's Snapping Maw. So that one's damage instead of hit rolls. And then Death from the Skies, instead of setting this model up in the battlefield, you can Deep Strike it. If you do so at the end of your first movement phase, you must set it up anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 from the enemy. And this is your cool Charnel Throne. So your Charnel Throne is the big train piece that you get. It's the bone chair, basically. You've got Flesh Eater Courts armies can include 1 Charnel Throne train feature. After territories have been chosen, before the army is set up, you can set up a Charnel Throne wholly within your territory, wholly within 12 inches of the edge of the battlefield, and more than 1 from any objectives or the train features. So it's the same as the Gloom Spite Shrine, whatever the gets one, basically for deployment. If both players can set up train, they can roll off, and the winner can choose who does it first. Charnel Throne, single train feature, it's an obstacle. Ghoulish Landmark, Flesh Eater Courts units treat this train feature as having the Inspiring rule. All other units treat as having the Sinister rule instead, so they're just listed there. And then Ruler of All, he surveys. An abhorrent Archregent, that's within 1 inch of this train feature can use the Summon Imperial Guard command ability without spending a command point. In addition, so now you could do it twice if you have the trait and then this one. In addition, an Abhorrent Ghoul King that's within 1 inch of this train feature can use the Summon Men-at-Arms command ability without a command point being spent. So now you can do 2. Yep. It's the Archregent and the Ghoul King. If they're both standing there, you can do 2 summons for free. Every round. A lot of free CPs in this one. Let's look at the Grand Court. So first is the Morgan to Grand Court. Now they have Blood Loyalty. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Mortgaunt Courtier units that are wholly within 12 inches of friendly Mortgaunt Serfs units. So basically, if your big Crypt Horror is next to something like Ghouls, then you can reroll. In addition, while a friendly Mortgaunt Serfs unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Mortgaunt Courtier, its Boundless Frost availability activates if the Serfs have 10 or more models. So they're built-in unit buff for having models. It only needs to be 10 or more for that one. You get the command ability, Heaving Masses. You can use this command ability when a friendly Mortgaunt Serfs unit is destroyed. If you do so, roll a die on a 4+, a new identical unit set up to the one that was destroyed and is added to your army. Set up the new unit wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield and more than 9 from the enemy. So on a 4+, your ghouls just come back every time they die. That's pretty hot. Just if you're taking big fat units of ghouls, this is definitely your Grand Court to choose. Your second command trait is, so your actual command trait is, and this must be your general's command trait, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this general while the general is within 12 inches of friendly Mortgaunt Serfs units. So it makes him better if he's near the Serfs. And then Artifact of Power, the first Mortgaunt here to receive this must get one. Decrepit Coronet, do not take the battle, which is right here. Do not take the battle shock test for friendly Mortgaunt units while they are wholly within 12 inches of the bearer or wholly within 18 inches of the bearer if they're your general. So makes you unbreakable. So again, this whole list of command traits is designed around making your heroes fight better near your ghouls and making your ghouls fight better near your heroes. So it's a we're going to spam ghouls Grand Court. Then the Hollow Mourn, Shattering Charge. You can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by melee weapons by friendly Hollow Mourn Courtier units and friendly Hollow Mourn Knight units. They made a charge in the same turn. So this is all your big stuff. So your Crypt Horrors, the associated characters, and the Crypt Flayers. This is the Grand Court about the big guys. Command abilities, Ravenous Crusaders, and they're all considered to be knights. You can use this command ability at the start of your hero phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Hollow Mourn unit wholly within 9 inches of a friendly Hollow Mourn hero, or wholly within 18 of a friendly Hollow Mourn hero that's a general. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. In addition, until your next hero phase, that unit can still run and charge later in the same turn. Your command traits, this is going to be Grave Robber. Add 1 to the attack characteristic and damage characteristic of this general's melee weapons if they're within 3 inches of any enemy heroes with an artifact of power. So you're going to go after an artifact of power. Makes you crazy because you're trying to steal them. You think they belong to you. And the artifact of power is, and of course both of these have to, your general has to have this and your first hero has to be given this, the Corpse Fang Gauntlet. After this model makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of the model and roll down a 2+, take D3 mortal wounds. So you get some impact hits basically. So now we've got little ghouls, big ghouls. Moving on to the Blister Skin Grand Court. Blistering speed, +2 move for Blister Skin units. So basically everyone gets +2 move. So everyone that gets there gets to take the name of the Grand Court, just gets +2 movement. So, I mean, getting a stat buff like that on the whole army, I feel like that just wins. Like, these are great. That's so good though, especially in holding zone missions. Lords of the Burning Skies, you can use this command ability at the start of your movement phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Blister Skin unit that can fly and which is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Blister Skin hero, or wholly within 18 inches of the general. Move that unit from the battlefield and set up anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 inches away from the enemy units. It may not move later in the movement phase. So you can just redeploy. You just turn to bats and go anywhere you want. And it's pick 1 friendly Blister Skin unit that can fly. So your big guys can just pick up and land anywhere. So that would be like your Crypt Flayers, your, I think the Archregent might have fly. We'll have to check later on. But definitely your Terrorgeist and your Zombie Dragon. And then your command traits are Hellish Order. If this general is on the battlefield at the start of your hero phase, roll a die on a 4+, to get an extra command point. And then Eye of Hish is your artifact. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target a friendly Blister Skin unit wholly within 6 inches of the bearer. So you can extend a bubble 6 inches basically to make people -1 to hit against shooting, which is pretty handy. So this one's kind of the Zombie Dragon Terrorgeisty Grand Court. And then Peerless Ferocity, this is the Gristlegore Grand Court. If unmodified hit rolls for attack made by a Gristlegore hero or Gristlegore monster is 6, it does 2 hits instead of 1. Make a wound roll and save roll for each. So again, both of these kind of play on the heroes and the big guys. This one more on the big guys and just being crazy fast. Your command ability is Call of War. You can use this command ability in the combat phase if a friendly Gristlegore hero or Gristlegore monster that has not fought in that phase is slain while it's wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Gristlegore hero or 18 of the general. If you do so before the model is removed from play, you can make a pile-on move and then attack with all the melee weapons it's armed with. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this ability more than once per phase. So even you couldn't use it like, as someone dies, you couldn't trigger it 3 times basically to have to just keep fighting forever. You only do it once. And then your command trait is Savage Strike. This general fights at the start of the combat phase before the players pick any units to fight in that combat phase. This general cannot fight again in that combat phase unless an ability or spell allows them to fight more than once. So you could Savage Strike and then use your Feast Day ability to fight twice per round if you want, which is pretty cool. And meaning you're always going first every round, as long as you've got the CPs to do it. And then your artifact of power is the Miasma Shroud. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy model within 1 inch of the bear and roll a die. If it's greater than the model's wound characteristic, they are dead. Great way to get rid of nets from goblins. And we got some battle plans. Stir in the Nest and your Path to Glory. So this is they tend to include like at least 1 narrative battle plan into each book at this point. Path to Glory rules, buying units. So with your 4 initial stuff, or sorry, your Ghoul King gets 4, the Archregent gets 3, and if you want to take a Zombie Dragon, then you get 1. And of course, how many selections each are, you've got these. So how many rolls does it use? And then rewards, and your War Scrolls. So let's look at some War Scroll battalions to start off with. The Cannibal Court, this is the big one. This is the one obviously that combines other War Scrolls on top of it. So you need to have a Royal Family, a Tenants at Court, a Dead Watch, an Abattoir, a Ghoul Patrol, the King's Ghouls, the King's Mordants, and the Royal Menagerie. And your ability becomes Dark Master if your general is an Abort Archregent or Abort Ghoul King. From this battalion, treat their War Scrolls having the command abilities found on the War Scrolls of any other units included in this battalion. So he gets to learn every single command ability, sorry, of everybody else in the entire battalion, which is bananas. But again, this is something you're never going to use in a regular size game. The Royal Family, you get an Abort Archregent, or one of the ones that's mounted, and 2 to 6 Abort Ghoul Kings. You get Lord of the Manor on a friendly courtier unit within 10 inches of any models from this battalion. Uses a muster ability. You get an extra die for that courtier when returning how many you're slain, and see on your turn. So this would mean you can roll 7 dice instead of 6 dice, for instance, usually. Attendants at Court, 1 Crypt Haunter Courtier and 2 Crypt Horrors, sorry. So this is your 1 Baby Hero and 2 Crypt Horrors units, like a big guy organization. You get Loyal Subjects. You can roll hit rolls for attacks made by models from this battalion if your general is an Abort Archregent or Abort Ghoul King, and he has not been slain. So as long as he's alive, you just reroll hit rolls for them. This one might be worth it. If you're going to take 2 units of Crypt Horrors and the Baby Hero, it's not that many points, and then just have them reroll all hit rolls as long as your general's alive. Pretty great. The Dead Watch, you've got 1 Infernal Courtier and 3 Crypt Flayers. This is the other set of big guys. In your hero phase, 1 unit from this battalion that's within 3 inches of the enemy can make a pile and move with, and then attack with all of its melee weapons it's armed with. So, again, if you're going to take Crypt Flayers, that one's absolutely worth taking. Now, it is a bigger unit, if you notice. It requires 3 instead of 2. So you are paying more for it up front. This one's only 2 units of Crypt Flayers, but you can't take any more. And this one's 3, and you can't take any more either. But in your hero phase, just fighting for free once is pretty great. Abattoir, 1 Crypt Haunter Courtier, 2 units of Crypt Horrors, and 1 unit of Crypt Ghouls. So again, this one is just 1 more unit. It's one of your battle lines on top of this one, Tenants at Court. At the end of the combat phase, roll 1 die for each enemy model within 3 inches of any models from this battalion. For each 6, take a mortal wound. It's called Body Part Acquisition. They just start pulling pieces off people. That's neat. I don't know if it's as good as the other one. Ghoul Patrol. No, it's definitely not as good as the other one. 1 Crypt Ghast and 3 units of Crypt Ghouls. So this could just be your battle line right here again. One thing I've noticed about these battalions is they tend to be formed around stuff you would take anyway. So they're a bit more attractive, which means you're going to have a bit more access to artifacts of power than you normally would in this army, because you're going to have 3 units of Crypt Ghouls probably. if you're taking them as your battle line at least. And the Courtier, you can make him your baby wizards. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with him, like the once per game fight twice, and have him as a general. All of these could be super handy. Instead of setting up a unit from this battalion on the battlefield, you can place it to one side and say that it's on patrol and reserve. At the end of your first movement phase, you must set up all these units. Each unit must be wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield, more than 9 for enemy units. So you can basically encircle by having them on patrol. Very cool ability. It means you don't have to set up your ghouls at the start of the game. The King's Ghouls, a Crypt Ghoul Courtier, Crypt Ghast Courtier, 1 unit of Crypt Horrors, and 2 units of Crypt Ghouls. And this one is, do not take Battle Shock tests for units from this battalion, while they're wholly within 18 of the Crypt Ghast Courtier from the same battalion. So the Crypt Ghast keeps everybody, it's a weird mix kind of, because it's Horrors, Ghouls, and then the big Horror basically. But again, stuff you might just take anyway, so it's worth doing to have them not take Battle Shock tests. Royal Mordants requires a Vargulf, a unit of Crypt Horrors, a unit of Crypt Flayers, and a unit of Crypt Ghouls. So again, all of these seem like things you would just take in these combinations. In your hero phase, pick 1 unit from this battalion, wholly within 16 inches of the Vargulf Courtier from the same battalion, and they can make a normal move. So you get to make a move in the hero phase for someone near the Vargulf, and that could be him too. And then your Royal Menagerie, 3+ Royal Terrorgeists or Royal Zombie Dragons in any combination. In your hero phase, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to each model in this battalion. That's within 5 inches of any other model inside the same battalion. So if you keep your 3 together, they're healing 3d3 wounds each round. And we're on to actual War Scrolls. So the Abort Ghoul King, he's really tough. Oh, sorry, on Royal Terrorgeist. I should mention, this is the mounted one. So this is Big Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, 14 wounds. Move goes from 14 out of 6, depending on how wounded you are. Bravery 10, 4+ save. Death Streak, I think works the same as before. Do not use attack sequence for this attack. Instead, roll a dice and add the Death Streak value shown on this model's damage table. If the total is equal to or higher than its bravery characteristic, the unit suffers number of mortal wounds equal to that. So yeah, it's Death Streak 6 at the beginning. So it's basically potentially up to 12. So if you're taking an average bravery of, let's say, Stormcast of 6, you can do to 6 mortal wounds. I mean, it's pretty good. You don't need built-in rerolls though, so you'd want to take the ability, the mad ability, to make that really valuable. Gaping Maw, unmodified hit roll is a 6. The attack inflicts 6 mortal wounds. Infested, this model is slain before this model is removed from play. Every unit within 3 inches takes D3. You can make that 3 too if you turn it into a bomb, basically. Royal Blood, heal D3 each hero phase. Model's a wizard. Summon Royal Guard. And then Unholy Vitality is a spell. Casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick a friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit wholly within 24 inches of the caster, invisible. Until your next hero phase, roll die each time a wound or mortal wound is allocated. On a 5+, they're negated. So he gets a 24-inch aura, or a 24-inch reach out and tap someone and give them a 5+ wound shrug. Give them disgustingly resilient. You got Summon Royal Guard. You can use this command ability at the end of your movement phase. If you do so, pick one friendly model that has this command ability and has not used it before. That model may summon up to 3 knights to the battlefield. The summoned unit is added to your army and must be set up wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield, more than 9 for the enemy units. So this guy makes every turn a unit of Crypt Horrors. That's bananas. Just spits out Crypt Horrors or Crypt Flayers because they all have the Knights keyword. And can just do it forever. And they show up within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield and more than 9 from the enemy. So you can see the value now in the +2 movements Royal Court. Because you can show up 9 inches on, basically, and next turn be somewhere relevant, basically, with your move, because your move could be up to 8 or, you know, running up to 14 even. Abort Ghoul King on foot. He's kind of the same. Oh, sorry, on Royal Zombie Dragon, not on foot. What am I talking about? He's in the Royal Zombie Dragon. He has a different command ability. He summoned Courtiers instead, so he makes heroes, baby heroes. His Zombie Dragon is the basic Zombie Dragon, same as before. Pestilential Breath, Royal Blood, heals D3. And his Malefic Hunger spell, casting value of 6. If successfully cast into your next hero phase, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by friendly Flesh Eater Courts units wholly within 16. So reroll wound aura, basically. That one's pretty great. Summon Courtiers. In this movement phase, pick one friendly model that has this command ability and hasn't used it before. And you may summon a Courtier unit to your battlefield. So you can make a Vargulf every turn if you want. Just make a Vargulf. This guy spits out Vargulfs. Cause why not? If you told me in 7th or 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle there'd be a model that just spits out Vargulfs, I would have called you a liar. And he comes on the table edge. And then the baby one, which is the one on foot finally, because I keep not reading the subtext. It's got 7 wounds, move 6, 4+ save, bravery 10. Imperial Blood. In your hero phase, you can heal D3 wounds. Magic, Ferocious Hunger. Has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick one friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit wholly within 24 inches and visible. And roll D3 and add the roll to the attack characteristic of all melee weapons used by that unit until your next hero phase. Here you go, Crypt Horrors. You all get D3 extra attacks to all your weapons. Oh my god. You can see what I said about doing a lot with a little. There's not a lot of units in this army, but the stuff they do is just bananas. And then Summon Imperial Guard. He can do either one. He can make Courtiers or 3 Knights or 20 Serfs. And they show up on the table edge. So there is a reason to take the foot one. These ones are better at fighting. This guy can bring on a unit every single turn of like Crypt Horrors. It's just crazy. You need a lot of, you potentially need to have 6 extra units of Crypt Horrors to keep up with the rate that you could spawn these things out at, which I find just insane. And then plus, they're making it very attractive to use your CPs on this, obviously, because you have that ability to pound and fight twice with things. But if you just play down, I don't know, 200 points, you could have 4 extra CPs at the start of the game to make extra fights, and then heroes to just poop out units. And so you're 400 points down, but you'll make that 400 points back with characters just exploding out units of big guys every single turn if you want, and Vargulfs. And then your Abort Ghoul King, he has 6 wounds, pretty much the same stats. And then Royal Blood heals D3. I like that his is 3 flat and his is D3. He's a wizard, Black Hunger. Pick a friendly, casting on 5. Pick a friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit wholly within 24 of the caster invisible. Add 1 of the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit until your next hero phase. So a bit better, a bit lighter version of Frost Hunger. But like you could double them down. They have different names. You could do both and just get D3 plus 1 attacks on a giant unit of something. And then summon Men at Arms. If you do so, pick one friendly model that has this command ability. It hasn't used it before in the battle. Oh, sorry, you can't do it sorry, I forgot. It's in the battle for this one. This one is, you can use command ability if you do so. Pick your friendly model is not used in this battle. So each one can do it once, that's right. Yeah, but you can still, take a bunch of these guys and everyone brings in a new unit for 1 CP. That model summons 1 unit of up to 10 serfs to the battlefield, and some units added to your army. They must be set up wholly within 6 inches of the enemy battlefield and more than 9 inches from the enemy units. So we'll talk about points later, but it is once and it is once per battle. But if you have like 3 of these guys, like let's say you take 1 Bigly Abhorrent, an Abhorrent Archregent, Abhorrent Ghoul King, you're making up to 3 units that could be at max points, you know what I mean, if you want to. I think probably the horrors are the best one. You'd probably want to take the Terrorgeist. I don't know if the Courtiers is good. This guy can just do either, and this guy can do another one. Or you just take 2 of him. There's no restrictions on it either. And then your Varghulf Courtier. So this is the one you can just make if you want, because you can make a Courtier. 8 wounds, 10-inch move, 5+ save, bravery 10. He's got some great, just basic fighty attacks. Can do up to 8 damage with his claws. His fangs can do another D3 on top of that. And he flies. Muster the Royal Household. In your hero phase, roll 6 dice for each friendly Varghulf Courtier in the battlefield. For each 2+, you can turn a slain model of serfs unit within 10 inches of that Varghulf. For each 5+, you can turn a slain model to a friendly unit of knights. You can bring back your big ghouls too. That's a reason to do it. Slain models return to more than 1 unit if you wish, but each successful dice roll can only be used to return a single model. So you roll a handful of dice, and then you spend them based on what you roll, based on the units around you to bring models back. Feed on Dark Magic. If a friendly Abhorrent within 18 inches of this model successfully casts a spell and is not unbound, you can roll hit rolls for this model until the start of your next hero phase. King's Champion. Add to the attack characteristic of this model's immense claws if it's within 3 inches of 10 or more enemy models when you pick the target unit to attack, so it gets better the bigger the unit you're fighting. And then Victory Feast, at the end of the combat phase, if any enemy models were slain, you can deal D3 wounds on him. He's a pretty good solo hero to fly around the back and like fight little baby units or like objective holders or whatever. Your Cryptghast Courtier, he's got a, so these are your baby heroes now. You've got your Cryptghast Courtier and your Varghulf Courtier. These are all have the Courtier keywords. And then your ghouls have the Serf keyword, you'll notice. So he's really a baby hero. He's got 4 wounds, 5+ save. Bone Club, like 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 damage. Filthy Claws, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 damage. Muster Serfs, in your hero phase, roll 6 dice for each friendly. It's the same as this one. And you can, on 2+, return 1 slain model of that friendly serfs unit. And that's it. You can only bring back babies, like little crypt ghouls. And then Trophy Hunter, if any enemy models were slain by wounds inflicted by this model's attacks, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons friendly serfs within 16. So everybody gets +1 attack if he kills somebody first. It does mean you have to remember like the order of operations that you're going to bring people like to fight in. And then your ghouls. They're ghouls, 6-inch move, 6+ save, 1 wound. They're, 4s and 4s attacks. Where's the model count? You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by this if they're within 18 inches of any friendly abhorrents. And then add 1 if they have 20 or more models. Remember, there's the ability to do it with 10 or more models for one of the royal courts. Add 1 of the attack characteristics of this model's Sharpened Teeth and Filthy Claws. So you're actually adding 2 attacks basically because it's, oh no, sorry, it's one style line, never mind. For 20 or more models. You get 3 attacks each, which is pretty cool. I think there's no, there's still Cryptghast. But he can be your Courtier as well. And then your Crypt Infernal Courtier. He flies, 6 wounds, 4+ save, 12-inch move. So this is the flying big guy. The Crypt Flare hero. Fetid Breath, which is different from the Scream. Has a 9-inch range, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 D3 damage. So it's a bit different from the baby version of the Terrorgeist Scream that these guys have. And then Skewering Talons, 5 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. So you can do 10 damage. It's pretty great for a guy you can just make a command ability. And then Skewering Strike, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by Skewering Strike is a 6, does 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. Muster Royal Guard. In your hero phase, roll 6 dice for each friendly Crypt Infernal's Courtier in the battlefield. On a 5+, return a slain model to a Crypt Flayer's unit within 10. Slain models can be returned. So these guys just build in healing. And your Crypt Flayers are Crypt Flayers. Death Scream, the baby version of, the Terrorgeist Scream. And then Skewering Strike as well. Does mortal wounds. And they fly. The Crypt Haunter, 6 wounds as well. He's only got a 7-inch move. But again, this could be 14 with that one Royal Court, and this could be 9. Massive Bone Club, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, just flat 3 damage. And then Rancid Talons, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 damage. Noble Blood, he heals a wound every hero phase. Chosen the King, reroll hit rolls for attacks made by him if he's within 18 of any friendly abhorrents, like your general. And then the Muster of the King's Chosen, he does the same thing for Crypt Horrors. He brings back Crypt Horrors. So much healing in this army. Crypt Horrors are Crypt Horrors. I think they're Chosen the King now. Reroll hit rolls for attacks made by them if they're within 18 of an abhorrent. And then Noble Bloods, heal a wound each phase. Warrior Elite, if the unmodified wound rolls are 6, has a damage characteristic of 3 instead of 2. Because they're your knights. And remember, there's that shattering charge. Because like their hit rolls are kind of potato. They all hit on 4s. But you have the ability to give them all reroll all to hit as a Royal Court if you decide to go big on the Crypt Hunters and the Crypt Flayers. Terrorgeist, Zombie Dragon. They're Terrorgeist and Zombie Dragons. They're just the unridden versions of the hero ones. And then you have the spells. So you've got the Cadaverous Barricade, cast on a 5. Set up a Cadaverous Barricade model wholly within 24 of the caster and more than one from enemy models. Grasping Hands. If a model starts a move within 3 of this model, halve the distance they move. Death units are not affected because the little does the hands out of the ground thing. The Army Darkness deal. Grisly Obstacle. When a missile weapon targets a unit that has all of its models within 1 inch of this model, they benefit from cover. If the attack model is closer to this model than the target unit. So if you're hiding behind it, you get +1 cover. And then Chalice of Ushron, or Summon the Chalice. It's on a 6. Set it up wholly within 24 inches of the caster. Only Nagash and Undeads and Nagash and Abhorrents can cast this one. Same with this one. You can't. Your babies can't bring these endless spells. Only the big leader ghouls can. Soul Stealer. Keep track of the number of models that are slain within 12 inches of this model each turn. At the end of each turn, roll a dice for each model that was slain within 12. On a 4+ heal a wound allocated to Flesh Eater Court's model within 12 inches of this model, or return a slain model to 1 Flesh Eater Court's unit within a wound characteristic of 1. That's wholly within 1. So you can bring models back with the Chalice. And then the Corpse Runner Stampede, cast on a 7. Again, only Nagash and Abhorrents can cast it. Set it up within 3d6 inches of the caster. It's interesting, it has a random deployment range. And then Crazed Gallop. When this model is set up, the player who set it up can immediately move with it. Trample Underfoot. It's a Predatory Endless spell with a move of 14, by the way. After this model is moved, roll 5 dice for each unit that has any models that's passed across. For each roll that is more than its wound characteristic, they take a mortal wound. Yikes. So 2+ basically for most units. For each roll of a 6, they take D3 mortal wounds instead. So 5 dice on 2, it can do 5 mortal wounds pretty easily, and any 6s become D3 mortal wounds on little 1-man units, or little 1-wound units. That's a pretty, Stampedes, that's pretty dangerous actually. Pretty super dangerous. And then there's your pitched battle profiles. Again, only like 2/3 of a page of actual point values because there's not a lot of units in this army. But let's talk about what we can get for free, because that's what I'm excited about. So the courtiers are things like the Crypt Haunter Courtier and the Infernal Courtier, or the Vargulf. They range from 120 to 160. For a CP, basically, you can make a 160-point courtier with like your Lord on a Zombie Dragon if you want, or the guy on foot. And then a unit of Crypt Horrors is 160 and Crypt Flayers is 170. And you can make a unit of these each for free as well. So let's say you just took those 3. You took the foot guy. I'd probably take the dragon, the foot guy, the big foot guy, and the little foot guy. So they could each make 1. And I would get to make 100, let's say I did flares, 170 plus a Vargulf, 330, and then another unit of fellas. Because I'd probably go 1-1-1. It'd be a unit of ghouls. It's only 10 ghouls though. And so 10 ghouls is only 100 points. So you can get up to almost 400 points. 360 points for the free stuff, just those 3 heroes. And that's if you're not spamming, you know, Abort Archregents or Abort Ghoul Kings on foot, because they're only 140 points each. So if you think if you just take 3 on foot, that's 420 points. And they could each bring out 170 point unit of Crypt Flayers in the first turn. So you could add another 510 points to your army on the first turn by taking 3 of those Archregents. I think you're going to see that happen quite a bit. Sorry, the Abort Ghoul Kings on ground. Oh no, it's the Abort Archregent. He's the one that makes both. 200 points. So for 600 points, you can make another 500 points. It's not so much more for the dragons. Like the mounted ones are 400 points. An extra 200 points. Oh, they've priced them accordingly for the foot guy, 200 points. But still, I don't know. I feel like it's worth taking 1 big guy, 1 medium guy, and 1 little guy. 1 Ghoul King, 1 Archregent, and an Abort Ghoul King on the big dragon. Because you get a lot of free stuff. So anyway, Crypt Ghouls, 100. If you take 40, you get down to 360. Terrorgeist 300. Zombie Dragons 300. Archregents 200. Ghoul Kings 140. The Ghast is 60. The Crypt Haunter is 120, so is the Infernal. The Varghulf's 160. The Abort Ghoul King on Terrorgeist is 400. On Zombie Dragon is 440. And then your Crypt Flayers are 170, and your Crypt Horrors are 160. The Abattoir War Scroll Battalion is 120. Attendance at Court is 110. Cannibal Court 60. Dead Watch is 110. Ghoul Patrol is 180. That's the deep strike all around the table basically one. King's Ghouls is 120. Royal Families 120. Menagerie is 120. Royal Mordants is 120. And then the Barricade is 30. The Chalice of Usharon's 40. The Corpse Runner Stampede is 60, which makes sense because it's super dangerous. And the Charnel Throne is free. And then your allies are going to be Deadwalkers, Deathlords, and Death Mages. So again, not a lot of allies, which reflects the fact these guys are crazy. And that's it, we're done. All the way through. So I'll look at Flesh Eater Courts. It looks like it's going to be a really neat book. A lot of cool choices to make as you build your list, because obviously there's a lot of summoning in there. A lot of like Alariel style, we just get to do it and bring extra points on the table style summoning. And then a lot of healing too. If you max out your heroes, oh my god, you can make a lot of stuff. If you just took 5 Archregents at 200 points, you could bring 500 plus 800 points for the guys on the first turn. Because they could each just make but you only do it once per phase. There might be a built-in problem with that. I'm gonna go back and look at the wording before I get too excited about this. It has to be someone that hasn't done it earlier in the battle, because I know they can each do it once basically. Uses command ability at the end of your movement phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly model that has this command ability and has not used it before in this battle. No, you can do it more than once. If you have different, it requires different guys. Yeah, it requires different guys. So he brings in 10 serfs. He brings in 3 knights or a courtier. So he can make anything. So really you want to take this guy, because this guy allows you to take anything, and they're 200 points each. So for 1,000 points, you can make yourself an extra 800 points. And they're still pretty decent. I mean, you're taking a lot of guys out to add in this, but I don't know. I don't know if the SKU is worth it, but it's definitely something you're gonna see people try and do, maximize the amount of free stuff you can get. But this guy is definitely up costed appropriately. He's only got 7 wounds. Although, I mean, for 200 points, 7 wounds, that's about the same as like again, not a Vandus Hammerheim, but like a guy on Dracoth, Lord Selson on Dracoth has. He's got 7 wounds typically. Doesn't have the same armor, but this guy does have built-in healing, which is really nice. 4+ save, 7 wounds. He's pretty good, and he heals 3 wounds each hero phase. So if you don't kill him, he just comes back in your hero phase. Just get 3 wounds back every turn. And he's got an amazing spell too. Just the add D3 to the attack characteristic of the melee weapons in that unit. So if you take a big unit of something too, oof, could be dangerous. But I'm impressed. I like that they took an existing book and they added just enough new tech basically, and then splitting some models out, adding like 1 or 2 new models, giving them the spells to make it interesting and different. So I feel like Flesh Eater Courts are going to be interesting to play. They have you can make a bunch of different ways. You can make like a Serf's army, you can make a Knight's army. The Royal Courts obviously really add to this. And if this is the direction that I guess, the second editionifying of Battletomes goes. I'm really excited about it. I want to see more like this. I'm really stoked to see my Sylvaneth get redone in this format with just more choices and more cool things you can do and more battalions and something like where different groves, you know, give them different war groves like these guys have to make them, you know, different and fun. So good on you, GW, for this Battletome. I think this does a great deal of like work, basically making the army interesting and giving you players that already have Flesh Eater Courts armies a bunch of choices they can make on how they want to build them, make them a little less one-dimensional, and sort of like, I guess, reward you for going into different styles. You can do the bigger list, you can do the Horde of Serfs list, lots of healing, lots of summoning, and you know, just different styles of play. So I'm excited to see this on the table. Hopefully I'll get someone in to play the Flesh Eater Courts soon, so you guys can see a game. So hope you enjoyed that review. Check out the Skaven one coming up soon. Text on MASH. Abort Gaming. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.